when I was about maybe 12 or 13. Some of the details are a little bit fuzzy, but a lot of things were happening at the same time in my life. I had a youth leader in my youth group that had kind of been paying special attention to me and telling me I was special. And I think I was kind of getting a lot of my worth from him. And then he moved away suddenly. So that was kind of devastating. And then around the same time, I overheard some girls gossiping about me, saying that I was weird. And I remember also around the same time, I was really good at softball. I was a really strong athlete. And so I was on a travel softball team. And I remember some of the other girls kind of acted more male. And so I started acting more male, cut my hair. And I remember, around that time when I heard the girls gossiping, I was just really struggling. And I think about, man, if it was 2025, there very likely could have been adults in my life that would have said, well, hey, maybe you are a man. Maybe you'd be more comfortable living as a man. But instead of that, my softball coach was such a good man. He pulled me aside and he stopped that trajectory. He said, what is going on with you? You're not acting like yourself. You're not combing your hair like you used to. What is going on? And what was communicated in that moment was that I perceived that he actually liked who I was. And this was different. And why is it different? And what's interesting is I kind of brushed him off. I was kind of like, oh no, I'm fine. Nothing, everything's fine. But that was I remember it so clearly as a moment in my life that made me go this way to boom, go back to where I was. And he wasn't even a Christian at the time. He became a Christian many, many years later, just before he died of cancer a few years ago. So just a really cool story of just a regular person standing between someone and evil. Now, I'm so thankful that the culture was different back then. That wasn't the initial assumption that people would have, but we do see that now. And I'm so glad that you guys are addressing this right now because as we've seen, true gender dysphoria, and Dr. Kathy, I'd like to get you to comment on this. True gender dysphoria used to affect maybe less than 1% of the population, primarily male. And then fast forward, we're seeing this, multiple 1,000% increase, and it's affecting primarily young girls. And so I'd love to get your thoughts on that, because you kind of mentioned that a moment ago, that you think gender confusion is more common than gender dysphoria. Can you unpack that for us?
Right, I'll answer, and then we'll throw it over to Jeff, who's the statistics expert of
good.
the two of us. But both of us have found, and this won't surprise you at all, that social media has warped our girls' thinking in particular. And we know that girls, middle school, maybe age girls in particular, preteens, who spend way too much time on social media scrolling, following people we don't even know they're following, have a much higher likelihood of being all of a sudden gender confused, where they come home from school, they've never talked about it before, and they're like, Mom, I really think I'd like to be a guy, or I think I'm supposed to be a guy. And that's been labeled in the research as rapid onset gender dysphoria. And the major cause of that is social media falling into the screen, the very thing that's depressing them, the very place where they're unsafe, because there's many unsafe people there trying to recruit them to a false ideology. Really scary. Jeff, do you want to comment further on that?
Yeah, sure do. Dr. Alisa Littman did a study several years ago and demonstrated that the significant increase in transgender identity among young women was largely due to social media. 2/3 of the young women who said they identified as transgender said they spent enormous amounts of time on social media. A lot of people have tried to disprove her work. It has been to no avail. Everyone knows that it's true. Now, the young adults we work with, they don't really use Google as a search engine as much, but if you did, and you just Googled transgender, you'd be at least 5 pages into the search results before you found anything that questions transgender ideology in any way. The young adults we work with use TikTok or Instagram, as strange as this sounds, as their search engines. So if they're feeling confused, and virtually every young adult as an adolescent going through puberty feels confused, they try to find an answer to that confusion, not from their parents or from their church, but from social media. As soon as they go into TikTok and Instagram, they're immediately being recruited into almost what I would think of as a cult of transgender.
Yeah, and I think we've all kind of observed that phenomenon happen.